In the heart of a small, sun-drenched village, where the earth was a rich terracotta and the scent of jacaranda blossoms hung in the air, lived a woman named Angelic. The winds of fate had not been kind to her. Years ago, they had swept her beloved husband away, leaving her a widow with only the echoes of his laughter and a small, humble hut to call her own. The rains had been sparse, and the once fertile land around her home now yielded little. Her cooking pot, once bubbling with stews and grains, often sat empty. Yet, through it all, Angelic's spirit remained as resilient as the ancient baobab tree that stood sentinel over the village. Her heart, though heavy with sorrow, was vast and full of kindness. She shared what little she had with the birds, leaving out crumbs of her meager bread, and her smile was a gift she gave freely to every soul she met. One blistering afternoon, as the sun beat down with relentless fury, Angelic sat on the worn steps of her hut. Hunger gnawed at her belly, a familiar and unwelcome companion. Inside, her entire worldly possession of food lay on a small wooden plate. A single, small piece of roasted yam and a handful of ground nuts. It was her only meal for the day, perhaps for the next two. As she prepared to eat, a shadow fell over her. She looked up to see a stranger standing before her, his form tall and dignified. He was clothed in a garment of the purest white, a stark contrast to the dusty red earth. His face was serene, his eyes holding a depth that seemed to reflect the endless sky. He looked weary, as if he had traveled a great distance. "Good woman," the stranger said, his voice as gentle as a cool evening breeze. "I have journeyed far and my strength has left me. Would you have a morsel of food or a drop of water to spare for a weary traveler?" Angelic looked at the man, then at the small piece of yam on her plate. Her stomach cried out in protest. This was her last meal. Giving it away meant facing another night, perhaps another day, with nothing. Anyone else might have hesitated, might have offered an apology and turned away. But Angelic saw not a stranger, but a fellow soul in need. Her own hunger paled in comparison to the exhaustion she saw in his eyes. A principle her grandmother had taught her echoed in her heart. A hand that gives is a hand that gathers. With a warm smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes, she stood up. "Of course," she said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. "What little I have, you are welcome to. Please, sit and rest your feet." She gestured to her own seat on the step, then went inside and returned, placing her entire meal, the yam and the ground nuts, into the stranger's outstretched hands. She then fetched her clay gourd and poured him the last of her clean water. The stranger accepted the food and water with a nod of profound gratitude. He ate slowly, savoring each bite as if it were a king's feast. Angelic sat nearby, her own hunger forgotten, feeling a quiet joy in her simple act of giving. When he had finished, he stood up, his weariness seemingly vanished. He looked at Angelic, and his eyes, which had been kind before, now shone with a light that was not of this world. "Angelic," he said, and she started, for she had not told him her name. "Your heart is as pure and generous as the first morning light. You gave your last meal to a stranger, expecting nothing in return. Such kindness does not go unnoticed by the heavens." He raised his hand, and a soft, golden light enveloped him. His white garment seemed to glow, and Angelic shielded her eyes, realizing she was in the presence of something holy. "I am not a mere traveler," he declared, his voice now resonating with divine power. "I am an angel, sent to walk among you." Angelic fell to her knees, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and awe. She was speechless before this celestial being. The angel smiled gently, his presence filling the small yard with a sense of immense peace. "Do not be afraid, daughter of the earth," he said, his voice softening once more. "Because you have shown selfless love, your household shall be blessed. Your kindness has sown a seed of abundance that you will now reap." He pointed a single, luminous finger towards her small, weathered food store behind the hut. "Go and look," he commanded softly, "and never again shall your pot be empty or your spirit want for comfort." With those words, the blinding light intensified for a moment, and then, as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone. The stranger, the angel, had vanished, leaving only the scent of fresh rain and blooming flowers in the air. Trembling, Angelic slowly rose to her feet. Was it a dream, a vision brought on by hunger? Her heart urged her forward. She walked cautiously towards her small, rickety food store, a tiny shed made of mud and thatch. Pushing aside the old woven mat that served as a door, she peered inside. A gasp escaped her lips, and her hands flew to her mouth in disbelief. The shed, which had been bare except for a few empty clay pots and dust, was now overflowing. Sacks of maize, beans, and millet were piled high to the roof. Yams, larger and healthier than any she had ever seen, filled the baskets. Jars of palm oil gleamed in the dim light, and dried fish and meats hung from the rafters. It was a bounty beyond her wildest dreams, enough to feed her and the entire village for a year. Tears of joy streamed down Angelic's face, washing away the dust and the years of hardship. She fell to her knees again, this time in overwhelming gratitude, her voice a whispered prayer of thanks to the heavens. The news of Angelic's miracle spread through the village like a harmattan wind. At first, there was disbelief, then wonder, then celebration. Angelic did not hoard her newfound wealth. True to her nature, she opened her store to everyone. She shared the grains with families who were struggling, gave yams to the elderly, and organized a grand feast for the entire village. Her home, once a place of quiet solitude, became the heart of the community, filled with laughter, music, and the delicious aroma of cooking. Children who once had thin faces now played with full bellies, and their parents looked at Angelic with respect and deep affection. She taught them what the angel had taught her, that the greatest wealth is not what you keep, but what you give away. Her story became a legend, told by grandparents to their grandchildren around crackling fires under the vast, star-studded African sky. And so, the tale of Angelic, the poor widow with a heart of gold, lived on. It became a timeless reminder that an act of kindness, no matter how small, can echo through eternity. It taught that true poverty is not a lack of possessions, but a lack of compassion. Angelic lived a long and happy life, her food store never emptying, her heart always full. Her legacy was not in the miraculous food, but in the love she sowed, which blossomed in the hearts of her people for generations to come. Her story serves as a beautiful testament to the idea that sometimes angels walk among us, and the greatest blessings are reserved for those who open their hearts to a stranger. Thank Thank you so much for watching this story with us. We hope it touched your heart as much as it did ours. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more inspiring tales. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay blessed and spread kindness.